Yep. Are you recording now?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, this is Dylan and Broderick recording our final for Ag Mechanics, which is kind of weirdly on how to write music.
The basis of the final is just make a how-to video, and since we are both really knowledgeable when it comes to things like music, we figured this one would be an easy topic for us.
Yeah, so the first thing I like to think of when writing music is what kind of key signature the piece of music is going to be in. The key signature is normally the part that it says 4/4 or 3/4 or has two numbers like a fraction. And the most commonly used is either 4/4 or 3/4.
Typically 4/4 though.
Yes. And the 4/4 means that in every measure there are going to be four beats. Each in 3/4 there would be three beats of measure, or three beats in each measure of music.
Which boils down to, in 4/4, the longest note you can have without ties and slurs would be a whole note, while in 3/4 it's a dotted half.
Yes. We have written a piece of music already.
Because we were trying to record this last night, but the recording got scuffed somehow.
Yeah. Anyways, I play percussion, so my part are the bottom two lines being the drum lines, and Broderick here plays a flute, and his part is of course the flute part because that is his instrument.
And it would be unfair for me to write the whole thing.
Yeah. So, the way our key signature for our music is 3/4. And this is most commonly used with waltzes. What do you like to think about first when you're writing music, Broderick?
When writing music, the first thing I want to think about is how do I want it to sound? And that can come from literally anything. You could be goofing around making noises and end up coming with a pretty solid beat. But one of my favorite things to tell people about music is that it's not meant to be listened, it's meant to be felt. And so really, you got to know what you want it to sound. And you'll see this a lot in older music, like Mozart and things.
Alright, so, with my beat, or my part of the music, I went with just a pretty simple beat for the first three measures. Bum, 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 bum. And the first note in each measure is a bass drum hit, just a simple quarter note. And for the snare part, it is two quarter notes, one after the other. And this is the most common beat used for waltzes by percussion.
It tends to be one of the most common rhythms for drums in general.
Yes. What did you do, Broderick?
So I started with something I tend to do. I'll do I forget what it's called, but it's almost where you go up and down the scale. But like you'll notice that the first set of eighth notes go from C to D to E to F, and then drop to C, then go to E, and the second measure it just goes straight down. And so it's a pretty common rhythm, especially with the notes used in it. So it's nothing too new, especially for experienced or inexperienced players.
Alright, so, hitting the fourth measure, I see that Broderick put just, dotted.
Not dotted, regular half.
Oh, that's just a regular half note and then a quarter rest at the end. And for me, I didn't want to have just the same exact thing happening over and over again, repeatedly the entire time. So the fourth measure, I put dun, 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 and it is represented with a quarter rest an eighth note, an eighth rest, and two connected quarter notes,
It,
or two connected eighth notes, sorry. And then um, at the end, I had just a bass drum hit, which is a simple quarter note, and then two parts of 16th notes, which
30
are
second,
32nd notes,
which
sorry,
are really fast.
which would be making the sound of a roll. I was not able to put an actual roll down because
We don't know how.
Note Flight is really weird.
I'm
with-
just learned how to copy and paste measures to speed up my process.
Note Flight is very weird with making tied notes.
Especially that. You'll notice how all the notes on the flute part that have lines over them, those are ties and slurs. Ties tie two notes together that are of the same kind, so like a C and a C. But a slur typically used when the note changes, like from a C to a D. But in most cases, you'll see one overarching one over sections, but because Note Flight is the way it is, it's doing individual ones instead of just overarching it all. But the way ties and slurs work is it'll tie a note or notes together to make it longer. And typically what that means for like people who use their breath to play is that you would play it all in one breath and make it flowy, so you'd play it without stopping, which is why you don't usually see rests in between ties.
Alright, so at the very end of the sixth measure of music that I have, I hit I would have a quarter note bass drum hit, but it is at triple forte. Now, in music there's things as forte and piano. Piano translates roughly into play soft or softer. And the more piano symbols there are, which is a P, the more soft you're supposed to be playing during that section. And then there is forte, which is represented by an F, and forte literally means play big, or play big, but in the band room we
say strong for like the woodwinds and the brass, because if you play how like loud, then it's gonna sound off. But the way we're told to play is to play strong, unless you're percussion, in which case yes, play loud.
Yes. Well, really it means just play louder. Because percussion is like the loudest thing in the band room.
Just shy of the brass.
No, just shy of the trumpet's egos.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, what did you do for the last couple measures of our song project?
So if you look at towards measure 3 and 4, you'll see I have a part that does the similar thing to the first measure, only technically a little slower, and ends with the regular half note. And if you look towards the measures 5 and 6, you'll see I do a similar thing, but I drop the notes a step. So instead of the first note being a C, it becomes a B, and instead of the next one being E, it becomes D, so on and so forth, ending in a dotted half note, which is a thing I tend to do a lot. Because it's a really simple rhythm, but it still has a way of sounding good.
Okay, so how about we play our song for them, Broderick, so they can hear what our song looks like?
Oh, of course.
And there is How to Write Music and our song that we have composed for this project. The biggest thing I would like to add on about how to write music is when you're writing music, just have fun with it, because most of the time you're writing for yourself and you want to put in what you want. Don't try to make it for others and sacrifice what you like to make other people happy. Make it the way you want to make it.
And to counter any counter saying, oh, what about the people who write love songs? What they're doing is they're taking their feelings and expressing it in a way that words can't. Which is generally why if you listen to soundtracks of things, you'll tend to like feel emotional about it. Because that's how music works. You're not really writing it for them. You're writing it about how you feel. But you're still the one writing it. So it's still coming from you.
And one final thing with how to write music using Noteflight. As you're writing, listen to it multiple times through as you're writing through it.
Thank you for reminding me.
Because why would
Well, the main reason behind constantly going back and listening to what you have so far is making sure it sounds the way you want to, which is something I tend to do a lot. And a good thing about Noteflight is every time you enter a new note or click on a pre-existing note that you've already put in, it'll play that note. And like if you scroll through it using the arrow keys on computer, it'll play what you have. And another thing, if you hit space or play, it'll play what you have. And a big reason why you want to do that is to make sure it sounds the way it should. And if something sounds off, you're like, okay, I'll go back to the section where it sounded off, play through it, and then I'll change whatever it needs to. And a big reason of doing that is to make sure that it sounds how it should.
Alright, so this has been our project about how to write music.
For a mechanics class.
Yes, for a mechanics class, oddly enough. Thank you for tuning into this, and I hope that you have a fun time making your own music and exploring into the world of music production.
And if you're still in school, please join band.
Yes, please join band if you're in school. No, goodbye.
Peace.